Welcome to Mindfully Blissed.
Settle in as we delve into personal growth and all things spirituality, bringing connection to all divinity in the most humane way.
Welcome to episode 2 of Mindfully Bliss podcast. I'm so excited to finally introduce you to the Miss Jessica Larimore.
Hello.
So Jessica, I'm so excited to finally be doing this with you. It's been a month or so in the making?
Yeah. A little over that, but yeah.
Yes, getting through the holidays.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Taking some slow time.
Yeah. Needed that
rest.
That rest time.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm still in that restful mode. Why did you agree to join the podcast with me?
Well, first of all, because I adore you.
Aww.
Mostly as our friendship has evolved, finding that we seem to be on the same pathway in life.
We are totally.
And just totally in sync with one another and experiencing and learning and growing as we continue on in this journey of life. And I'm inspired by you. And I love hearing about your journey in your personal growth and learning about inner peace and all those things. And sort of this mutual inspiration, I would imagine. But
oh yeah, totally mutual.
But yeah, so doing the podcast, I mean, I've had my own journey too, and being able to have the opportunity with you to help guide others find and cultivate their own inner peace and working on their own mindset to find that self-love and joy in life.
Yeah.
I think I'm super passionate about that.
Yeah, I think we both are.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool that we both are super like-minded, but we both kind of came from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
But we've kind of met on the same journey,
yeah.
Even though our paths are so different.
Right.
That's led us to the exact same place,
right.
Which is really cool.
It is really cool. It is.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited.
It's very divine.
It is divine, right? You can't even what's the word? Deny it. Can't even deny it anymore.
No.
All the synchronicities that have fallen in place since the beginning of everything is just unreal almost.
Yeah. No, it is.
One of those things you just have to experience for yourself to really believe it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Let's see. What are your hopes for this podcast?
I don't really have any full expectations of the podcast, but because I'm just kind of here to roll with it with you.
Just kind of see where it goes, where it leads us.
Yeah. But I would say as far as hopes go, I hope that doing this together blesses others' lives in a positive way and brings, positive intention to their life.
Yeah.
Kind of in the way that we've experienced, in just sharing our own experiences in life.
Yeah.
And kind of help guiding other people on their journey as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think opening people's minds to different ways of thinking is huge.
Yes.
That's what I kind of hope to bring to this is just diving into some topics that might be a little bit, pokey to some people, but kind of bringing in a lighter side to it.
And if they are pokey, they're coming from a really great place, a place of love and compassion.
Yes, absolutely. What do you personally feel you bring to the table? Your past, things that you've gone through, things like that.
Well, in my early years, I'd say I've definitely bring to the table that I've overcome a lot of adversity in my life.
Yeah.
And as an adult, just going through my own personal growth and development and some of the experiences I've had and kind of having a greater bird's eye view than most people do on how humans interact with one another and how not only does it affect those in the moment, but the trickle effect it has as we move through society after having those experiences.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people go through some pretty traumatic things in their life and they don't really know how to overcome them, how to get out of that shadow of, you kind of, when you go through something traumatic, you kind of cling to it like that is you. But being able to step back and realize that that's something you experienced, but it's no longer who you are.
Right.
And I think that's huge. I think that what you've gone through will kind of really inspire other people.
Yeah. And for those of you that have gone through your own traumatic experiences, just remember that most people who do amazing things with their life is because they came out of trauma. And it's something I've learned and I've witnessed and I've seen is usually those who've experienced a lot of trauma in their life, they eventually hit a point where like enough is enough.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to go find and learn to love myself the way that I can love myself versus constantly taking on all the noise from other people, society, other things. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited well, I've heard a lot of your story, but I'm really excited to have you share more in depth as our journey goes.
I know. I feel like this podcast is going to like help us dive into each other's past even more than we already have.
Yes, I think so.
It'll be exciting. So sometimes we'll be learning things about each other that we didn't know as you guys are learning. So it'll be exciting.
That'll be really cool. That's kind of what I hope for this platform is to just have a safe space to talk about the things that are kind of scary to talk about, but to, meet them with that love that you were talking about and to realize that even though awful things happen to us, they're there for a purpose. And that's kind of the whole goal. My whole goal is to kind of unravel all of the things, all the dark, icky things I've gone through and try to learn what I was supposed to learn through them. And I think that's the beauty of the whole journey.
Right.
Because life is messy, but it can be so beautiful too.
It can. Yeah. It depends on where you focus your attention.
Yeah. It's your mindset.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna learn a few things about Stacy. So, what was your inspiration behind Mindfully Blissed before you decided to invite me to come along and be part of the podcast?
Well, one day I just had this voice in my head, which now I know is like my higher self. That God source energy that we can all connect to. I just heard the words mindfully blissed. And so I just kind of asked myself, like, what is this? What is mindfully bliss? What do you want me to do with this? And I just heard, write it down. You don't know yet, but just write it down. So I wrote it down. I literally have a piece of paper in my journal that's all it says. It's mindfully blissed. And so I was just about to start a book club with my friend Tierney, and I thought mindfully blissed, we're reading books, we're opening our minds. So I thought it would work. And I had drawn some oracle cards and I got the no, postpone, wait. And I was like, okay, I'll just kind of pause on what I'm trying to bring to fruition here. And then
and that can be frustrating sometimes. So listening to that voice.
The unknown. Yes. Really trusting your inner guidance, that intuition has been a big, huge shift for me in my life. Because a lot of times we just kind of disregard that gut feeling and we go against it. And
you don't always have to have your foot on the gas pedal.
Yeah.
It's okay to just like stop for a second and rethink your navigation and where you're going, what you're doing.
Let thoughts actually integrate.
Or let life do what it needs to do to put things in place before things happen.
Yeah.
Or for things to happen.
I wish I would. I don't think it has a date on it, but I wish I had written a date on there.
Oh, that would be fun to know.
To see, because then, fast forward to 11/11 when we got together for that
crazy. Yeah.
That unbelievable overnight together. It was like our first like real bonding night.
We had a little staycation at an Airbnb with a hot tub. It was
so beautiful.
It was I don't even know how to put it into words, because like the whole night Stacy and I were both just like, what it was tears,
like
but like good tears. Magic.
I mean, full body chills like the whole time. Like I remember saying to you, like, I'm like vibrating right now.
I've got chills right now. And stop tearing up because you're going to make me tear up.
And so when we were just out there, talking and gabbing, and we just both looked at each other and we're like, oh my gosh, this should have been recorded. This would have been a perfect podcast.
Yes.
And then as soon as that word's podcast, I was like, Mindfully Bliss podcast with Jess and Stace. Like it is all unfolded.
Yeah.
Just the way it was supposed to unfold. So that's kind of the inspiration for mindfully blissed. I just want a space to talk about anything and everything and dive into some topics that are kind of woo-woo, but then also like, you know, just everything from homeschooling and, you know, being stay-at-home moms and, you know, just all sorts of topics. Yeah. So I think it's just a really good umbrella for everything.
Yeah. It's kind of exciting how it's all come together.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your passion for guiding and helping others to find and cultivate that inner peace.
Well, it started with my awakening, my spiritual awakening, if you want to call it that, started in 2020. I think 2020 was a pivotal moment for a lot of people. It was kind of like a clear vision. I saw the 2020 vision. People's eyes kind of opened to the truths of things that were kind of going on, and it felt really lonely. Like really lonely. Some just this random things that I would come across that just like blew my mind. And I was like, why have we been taught the opposite of this for so long? And just all of these things kept unfolding. And, you know, I love my husband to death, but he wasn't quite there. Like I'm always a little bit ahead of him, 2 steps ahead.
Same with me and my husband.
And so there'd be some things that I would just I just started reading and like gaining all this knowledge that we weren't taught growing up, you know, and all these hidden truths. And I would get so fired up and so excited about things. And I would just like word vomit to him and he'd be like, what the fuck? Stop. And I was like, oh, okay. And it wasn't until probably 2022 when I started really delving into human design and really understanding my projector self and realizing that I need to wait for the invitation to spew all my knowledge and wisdom to people. And once I learned that, I kind of dialed back all the things and let people like ask me like, oh, what have you been reading lately? Or what have you been doing? And then that gives me the opportunity to talk and they're more receptive.
Well, and plus in between those opportunities, you're now focused on yourself rather than the frustration of not being able to touch somebody because they're not willing to take in what you're sharing. So now you're going home with all that negativity.
Exactly.
And then you're sitting in that instead of being focused on yourself. So it also gave you that time to grow as well.
Yeah.
Having that realization.
Yeah. So coming out of, 2020 and 2021 and even part into 2022, being really alone with my thoughts and all of this wild. I mean, I went down we've gone down so many rabbit holes together that it's like,
changed course?
What is life even?
You go down one rabbit hole and then you hit a tunnel in that rabbit hole and go, oh, wait, go this way now. Yeah. It's been a lot of that. But we seem to be like kind of either we're meeting up in those tunnels or we're like, wait, come here.
Yeah.
Let me show you
let
something.
me bring you into this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been really cool having like a friend that's kind of on the same page that we can like really geek out on some of these like weird topics.
Well, we've also been like really open-minded together too, where like if one of us isn't aware of something or doesn't know something or has a different view of something, we've both been very open-minded to listen to one another on those things.
Yeah, and not just shut down right away.
Yeah.
You're one of my only friends that's like that open.
Same
one other friend, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And they say as you heal yourself and you ascend into your higher self, you lose a lot of people.
Oh, you do.
Your circle gets really small.
It does.
And Matt was just saying that on his podcast, I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I totally agree with that.
I agree with that too.
Perfect thing.
Yeah.
So, fast forward into 2023, I really put a lot of what I learned in those first couple years into just protecting my peace and putting up some boundaries that just protect my peace. And so now that I feel like I'm not mastered at it yet. I'm still, we're all human. I don't think we all, being human is so messy and beautiful, but we get to, ride the waves of things. And so
life is ever changing. So right when you think you've mastered it,
Yes, exactly.
Your kids become a different age, or you're always having to relearn how to keep that inner peace, because life is ever changing, and it's becoming comfortable with that constant change and having to sort of navigate or find a different path sometimes to keep that going.
Yeah. And so now being where I'm at, where I used to care so much about what people thought and thinking that I'm just like this weirdo and it really used to bother me. But now being at a place where I, put up some boundaries, and I realize that people aren't able to, they can only receive what they're willing to be open to. Right. Mm-hmm. So you can only meet them where they're at.
Right.
And that was a hard lesson to learn in a lot of my family. They would, shut down, and they would, think like, oh, it's not in the mainstream, so I'm not going to believe it. They didn't want to listen to what I had to say. And so I just had to literally, like you said, just come back to myself and realize that I'm not crazy. I know what I've experienced, I've
been labeled with that word many times.
Yeah. And just being okay with that. And so that's kind of what I want to share with people is you're going to, come across things and people are going to think you're weird and whatever. And that's completely okay. And that's a sense of peace that I want people to really understand and really experience for themselves.
Yeah. So, it's all in here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what you think about yourself is what's going to affect you the most.
Yep.
So if you're allowing others to control those thoughts of how you think of yourself, that's where the effect comes from. Mm-hmm. So it's learning to shut those voices off in your mind and turn on the positive ones.
Yeah.
And
it's being able to differentiate.
We'll dive into a lot more of that coming forward. But
yeah, because there's a lot of things. We have our higher self and we have our ego. And our ego is there for a purpose. I know there's a lot of spiritual teachers that really demonize the ego. Mm-hmm. But the ego is there to keep us safe and protect us and, to help us to know, don't cross the street without, looking. That's the ego too. But the ego also doesn't want us to leave our comfort zone. Mm-hmm. So we have to learn how to differentiate between what that quiet, intuitive, higher self voice is saying and the loud ego.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, growth doesn't happen inside the comfort zone. So you have to constantly be expanding that circle. So if your circle's this big, initially, you've got to step out of that and let that circle become bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's really, if you're not stepping out of it, you're not growing.
Yeah, exactly.
And evolving into your higher self. So yeah.
Yes.
Well, Stacy and I want to share with you more about how we met.
Yeah.
And how we came together prior to our hot tub sesh.
Yeah. I want to say, was it 2016? Or 2017?
Oh, no, it couldn't have been either. It would have been 2018.
It was after Matt and I got married? I thought it was before. It could have been 2018 before I found out I was pregnant with Kinsley. So that might be right.
I think it was 2018. It was 2018. Yeah. Yeah, 2018. Stacy was a guest to a women's connection group that I was running and leading. And that was the first time we ever met.
Yeah.
And then that was that. We became friends on Facebook and
just kind of
saw each other's posts once in a while. Nothing really.
We didn't really interact too much, I don't think.
First time we ever really had a full-on conversation was 2020 because we were seeing each other's posts.
So random. Yeah, we were like, oh, we're definitely like-minded. And I think we decided to have a phone call.
Yeah. It was about almost an hour long, if I remember correctly.
If not over.
Yeah. We had a really long phone conversation. So this was before we ever got together in person, aside from her just being a part of the meeting that day.
Yeah.
So in 2018.
Yeah. So then, and that one conversation didn't happen again for another 2 years.
Yeah. So, we continued to communicate on Facebook. I think we would message each other things and
little
stuff,
things,
a little bit here and there. And then, so then ever since 2020, her and I've been going through so much, and we've gone down the religious part of our spiritual journeys, which we'll dive into more as well. And her and I were both seeking churches because we were trying to find that peace, right? And amidst all the chaos that was going on, and has kind of continued a little bit. But I had found a church and my family was going there, and we experienced some church hurt there. And so we left, and we were looking for a new church, and Stacy started going to another church.
Yeah.
And then Stacy's like, hey, you should come check out this church. I think you'd like it. So we started going there. And then Stacy and Matt
stopped going there.
Like, I think this after like second time we went.
Yeah.
All of a sudden she's like, yeah, we're not going anymore. And I was like, why? She had her reasons. And I was like, oh, okay. So we kept going. And lo and behold, we ended up experiencing church hurt again. Like I said, we'll dive into that on another episode. But the first time we went to that church was the Stacy invited us to go with her family to the church. So we went. But then afterwards, Stacy and I had a lunch date right after church. And that was the first time where we really sat down together in person.
Oh yeah, at Olive Garden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the first time we really like connected in person, aside from sitting in church together.
Yeah.
And then from that point forward, we just continue to stay in touch.
Yeah, not a ton though.
No.
So you invited me to your Friendsgiving, but I didn't make it to Friendsgiving.
Right.
Because
oh no, that's right. She came. That's right. You came to the holiday party before we went to church.
I was going to ask you, did that come before?
So okay, I have this thing sometimes about inviting people. So I have a holiday party every year. It's really fun. But I have this thing sometimes about inviting people that I've never met in person, but I've connected with on social media, because usually people are afraid to like reach out. So I try to be that person, just because you never know if you don't.
Yeah.
And some of them are brave enough to show up and some of them are not. And Stacy showed up for my holiday party. So that was the first time we had in-person experience.
Yeah. And I remember specifically the reason I came was because you were like, I've been in that position where I'm the new person and I don't know anybody except for the one person that invited me. And so I know how awkward it can be when nobody talks to you and things like that. And that was my fear. I was like, I don't know any of your friends and I'm going to be this odd one out type of a feeling.
Well, that's one of the things
absolutely not. No. You will not feel this way in my home ever.
I pride myself on making sure there is activities that take place to get everyone connected so that it doesn't end up feeling cliquey or somebody's just sitting there feeling awkward and left out because they don't know anyone. So I'm very intentional about that when I have gatherings like that at my house.
Yep. So I just put on my big girl panties and was brave enough to go to venture over to your house. I think that has to be, I guess, Christmas of 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or 2022, I mean.
Yeah, a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
22.
So, and it was, it was great. Yeah. Oh, those twos.
Yeah.
So yeah. That Christmas kind of sealed the deal. And then that's kind of when we started, I think it was, we started going to church and then invited you guys. And then we slowly just kind of dwindled off of the church thing. And what was next? How did we reconnect? After all of that,
I don't know why we've at this gap where we don't really recall like how it. I don't know. We just stayed in touch. I think we started talking about like we need to get the kids together. We need to get the kids together, and I want to say we came here once for a play date, and then we invited Kellen to go with us over the summer and I was shocked they said yes because like we still didn't know each other that well.
Yeah,
took them on the trip with us.
Yeah, and that was just great.
Yeah, and then after that, we started really getting together after that. So really started growing
probably
late summer, early fall
of 2023. So yeah.
It's happened really fast. It feels like it's been way longer.
It does feel like it's been like, I think just because you've been there since 2018 to now where we're at, it just feels like a really long time. I guess
I also think like the bond that has manifested so quickly is also what makes it feel like we've known each other longer.
Yeah. Obviously it's kind of otherworldly, right?
Yeah.
We've probably been like soul family for a lot of years.
I have called you my soul sister when talking about you. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, you find that soulmate. Well, she's my soul sister, because I've never, and that's like a whole nother conversation, but I've never, ever, ever experienced the connection with a girlfriend in the way that I've experienced with you thus far.
Yeah, it's like a sister love.
It really is. Yeah. There's no, I don't feel an ounce of competitiveness. I don't feel an ounce of either one of us like using each other, taking advantage of one another, or like, it's just
really easy.
Yeah.
There's no like forcing anything. And that feels relieving.
Well, and it was funny too, because when we had our hot tub session, like, I don't remember how we got on the topic, maybe you do, but like somehow we got on the topic of like our fears with one another, of like acceptance and stuff like that.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden I was like, well, I was feeling that way too. What? Yeah. And then we're both telling each other like, no, I don't feel that way. Like, no worries. Like
yeah, I think because I was telling you.
And I think we both started crying in that moment.
Yeah. How I really felt like I looked up to you as this leader, and this, like, you just can speak so well in a group and things like that I was so like envious of you. And I was like, I want that. And then you're like, I was feeling that way about you, and that you can speak about these things so well. And I'm sitting here like, I feel like I can't speak about these things. And so we were like, oh my gosh, we were feeling the same.
It was almost like we were holding up a mirror to one another, like like showing each other that we share this same insecurities and fears, all the while the very things that we're insecure of and afraid of, we are inspired and empowered by within the other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's really showing you when that happens, when I truly believe we all mirror each other. When there's something that you love in me, you have to realize that you have that within you, and you just have to find it within yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Well, that conversation too is like, I remember one of the things I was telling Stacey was like, you do so well of just like going live on social media and doing this and that. And so she's looking at me like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And I was like,
feel it.
And so I was like, well, the funny thing is even though like I struggle with that, and I don't struggle with that, like having like speaking and having people watching me, it's more like, and I did finally figure out what the issue was, and then I looked at her and I said, but I have no problem getting up in front of a room of people and speaking to audience. And she looked at me and goes, what? That's my fear. And I was like, girl, you need to get on a stage because you will inspire people.
Yeah, that was what it was. It was so opposite between us. Like, I can just be in front of a camera and just talk, but getting on a stage in front of like live people freaks me out.
Well, this is why I agreed to do the podcast, because I finally learned what I don't like about it. And I told you is that I don't have an energetic connection with humans, because that's what I feed off of when I speak with people.
Yeah.
And so doing the podcast, I get to have conversation with you. And so now like the energy is there.
Yeah. So when you're just behind a camera, you don't have anything to attach.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't feel like there's any human connection. And that's the part I love about speaking, is the human connection that you can see and feel in that moment. And so even though I can't, see those who are watching and connect with them right now, I at least get to connect with you. And so it feels more real.
Absolutely.
And human. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's just crazy that we were like the opposite, and now coming together, think about two separate fears coming together is super powerful.
And they complement one another.
Yeah. It's like a balance.
Yeah.
Just coming into balance, which is really cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So I know we don't want to really get into all the beautiful details of this new project, but do you want to share a little bit about this new project we're embarking on together as well?
Yes. Okay. So this is a beautiful thing, because the podcast was sort of Stacey's inspiration and her vision, and we're doing that together. But there was something, and I'm not going to share it with you guys yet, but we will. Because, that little voice in me is saying, don't share it yet. There's some things have to happen before you start sharing about it. But I can at least share a little bit. So last year, it's almost been a year. So I want to say like last March, I started working on a project and it has something to do with women's empowerment. But I started working on it, and it was supposed to launch by the end of June. And I like had this goal, like, got to get it launched. And I was doing all the things. I like created this Facebook group, got like 120 followers in there, like ready to be a part of this. And it was amazing. Everything was moving very quickly.
Yeah. You were even doing like little icebreaker things. I remember seeing.
Yeah. I was doing all kinds of stuff with it. It was like on it. And then all of a sudden, that little voice, my higher self, voice, just told me to hit the pause button and not say a word. And so I know, and if any of you are watching that are in the group, I know like a lot of people who are in that group were probably like, what happened?
What's going
on? So I haven't said anything since the end of June, but I hit the pause button because something just didn't feel, something was telling me just to wait. Like you can't do this right just yet. Well, in the beginning of that project, I was kind of sitting there like, I really wish I had a partner to do this with, because it would be so much more meaningful and beautiful if I had a partner. But finding a business partner that's like, that you can go through the hard parts with, that you can have good communication with, and all those things is not easy to find.
Yeah, no doubt.
And this was before Stacy and I really started connecting. And after we did, and kind of learning about her mindset, and even like sort of her mindset with business, I was like, okay, I think Stacy's the missing link. I think that's why I had to hit pause. And so then I was like, how am I going to ask her this? Because we'd already kind of had a conversation about it in a different way. And then, so finally I definitely waited till after our 11/11 hot tub session. I think it was kind of shortly after that I was like, I really think she's the missing link. And so then I approached her with it and was like, would you want to partner with me on this journey? And she's like, well, you need to share a little bit more about this with me.
Yeah.
So I did.
Yeah.
And then she said yes. And so now, with my mind and her mind coming together, it's kind of evolved into a bigger picture, which I'm really excited about.
I know.
We actually had something kind of exciting take place today, so we'll see how that goes. So I know you guys are really like, what is it? When we will, so we're just going to leave you with that little cliffhanger, because we have to wait before we can fully share.
Yes, we have to dot the I's and cross the T's first.
But it's really exciting, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be a blessing to the community. I just see nothing but positive things coming out of it. So.
Yeah. I think in the realm of the community of women, it's been so broken for too many years.
It has.
And so I think this is going to be really beautiful to try to bring, not even try, we're going to bring.
Oh, no, we're going to do it.
Women back together to work. I mean, women are so powerful on their own, and they don't even realize it. But the more you can bring women together,
the things we can do together. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be
because
powerful.
You know, as women, we are the nurturers. We are the connectors. Those are the things that, you know, some of the things as women that our strengths, those are just naturally what we do.
Yeah.
And when we're all against one another, because, you know, the little petty competitiveness and worrying about what the other woman thinks of you, or she said something that maybe you were offended by, but she probably didn't mean to offend you, which is a whole nother issue we'll get into. Just all those little things. And if women can learn that when you stay focused on those little things, we're actually hurting ourselves.
Yeah.
Where like, if you can stay focused on like overcoming those and remaining in that positive energy with one another, really amazing things can happen and trickle out into the world as a whole. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to watch it blossom and bloom.
Yep. That's the last thing we're going to say. Well, cool. I'm really excited for our journey with Mindfully Bliss and see where it takes off and takes us, and where this new, bigger project takes us. And
how our friendship continues to grow.
Yeah, exactly. I know I can't just speak for myself. I think I'll speak for you too, that we're really excited to bring on other like-minded souls and others that might even have a slightly different perspective that want to share kind of where they're coming from and their viewpoints, and then just have very open-minded conversations, being polite and kind to one another, and just meeting each other with that unconditional love, no matter what.
Yeah. Being respectful.
Yeah. One thing I was talking to Matt about yesterday was that we all are living kind of a different reality
for sure.
based on what happened to us as kids, what happened to us, through all of our, our life.
And we all have different triggers.
We all see things just slightly different, and that we need to realize that.
Yeah.
And don't put so much judgment on other people because we don't know, we haven't been in their shoes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cool.
We see eye to eye on that one.
Yeah, good. All right, you guys. Bye for now.
Bye. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Remember to be kind and compassionate toward yourself and others. Now go out there with an open mind and cultivate a sense of inner peace so you can live a more meaningful life.